The Badge to the Bone podcast contains adult language, mature themes, psychological nudity. Viewer discretion is advised. The opinions expressed here are ours and ours alone. Buckle up.
All right, welcome back to Badge of the Bone podcast. I'm Denny.
I'm Al.
And we are back with Season 3, Al.
We're here. Let's
right.
do it.
Let's go.
I give it up on society, up on my family, up on your social disease. I give it up on the industry, up on...
All right, Al.
Yeah, so we're about to kick off something that we did remotely.
Yep.
So we're just kind of putting it out there. There may be a little difference in the audio,
Yep.
but really excited about this one.
Yeah, absolutely. We went on location for this, and we've been looking forward to do this for a while.
Yeah, so let's get on it.
All right.
All right, Al.
We're
We are
back.
back. We are back.
We're back and kicking off season 3.
Yeah. The holiday. Did you have a good holiday?
Yeah, I did. It was
Okay.
peaceful. I got to quietly drink my whiskey after the mad rush of putting it all together.
Very good. Very good.
But yeah,
Well, good.
It was good. You?
Yeah, it was good. You know, just kind of stayed local. Hung out
Yeah.
with some family, some friends. Got to drink some of my bourbon. Got a little bourbon for Christmas, so that's never a bad thing.
That's always Christmas.
It is. So it was nice. So it was a nice little break. But now we're back at it.
We are. God help everybody, but we are.
Yeah, just when you thought we were gone.
So
We-
I'm really kind of excited about tonight.
Man, I have been super excited about tonight.
Yeah, so we have tonight somebody that I have been hoping to get on the show since
Since we started.
yeah
You've
the
been
beginning.
talking about it since we started. So, yeah.
So tonight we have with us somebody who is a nationally recognized commentator, radio host, host of our local radio show, the Jeff Katz Show.
Yeah, that I listen to every day.
Yes.
Every day.
But more importantly, somebody who is a huge advocate for our profession
Yep.
in this area. Before we went on, I was saying to him that, I've been in this area my entire life, and we've never had anybody in media that has been the kind of advocate for law enforcement and first responders that he has.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But also, Jeff's just got a crazy career. Starting, though, as a cop.
Right.
Starting as a Philly cop.
Right.
And now into radio after some stint in pro wrestling, which I'm sure he'll share with us. But he's also gone into life coaching and peer counseling as well.
Yes.
So, without further ado, Jeff, welcome to the Badge to the Bone podcast.
I am thrilled to be here, and I have been anxiously awaiting your arrival since episode number 1. I'm just going to tell you guys that. I enjoy your podcast, and I love feeling connected to everything that you're doing. I think it's great, and I'm thrilled you asked me.
Thanks so much for coming on, Jeff. I mean, it really is awesome. Like I said, I listen to your show all the time, and I always appreciated how much you advocate for law enforcement, and particularly the local in this area, because that voice just hasn't ever been there. That voice out on the radio and just publicly advocating for law enforcement. And I know you do so many good things, and I think one of them was, and I forget the name, but it's on the Friday. It's the Blue Fridays.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Final Friday of the month is we present our Lieutenant Jan McTurnan Blue Friday honor.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's I really appreciate it. But it's so great to have you on.
It's
Awesome.
Believe me when I tell you, it's my pleasure. It's my thrill, and I'm just so excited to be part of this, man.
Well, thank you, and I know you're busy because besides your show, you're doing national
Yep.
level programming. You're filling in for Glenn Beck.
Yep.
And Todd Starnes.
Todd Starnes, Eric Erickson. I do a lot of fill-in for some bigger markets locally as well, and it's partially because I love radio. I love the medium, and it's also because I've got 2 sons in college, and I've only got 2 kidneys to sell. So at some point,
You got to do what works.
I got to get a check somewhere, man. So.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, and this is where we're going to sound like a couple dopes tonight. It's like, wow, they got a professional broadcaster on. Everybody can tell the difference, like right off the bat.
Yeah, it's just yeah.
Well, Jeff, you've had just such a colorful career, but it started way back in Philly
Yeah.
as a beat cop.
Yeah, yeah. First of all, I appreciate you describing it as interesting, as colorful. Other folks would look at it and go, "Man, what is wrong with you? Pick something and stick with it, for God's sakes." You know? Yeah, I was a student, a college student. And I was supposed to be, and no offense to your lovely bride, but I was sure I was going to become a practitioner of the dark arts. And
If it makes you feel better, I call her a practitioner of the dark arts.
oh, excellent. And my dad, God bless him, who always had an incredible sense of timing, had a major coronary. And I needed to go to work. I needed a job, and I needed a job that could take care of me and help take care of my mom, my dad, my younger brother. And it just so happened that there was City of Philadelphia was hiring, and I stepped up and I got the job. And I did the job, and it was one of those things. I didn't do it for as long as either one of you guys did, and I certainly didn't spend a career there, but after about 5 years, I took away a lot of stuff, and again, paycheck involved. I mean, I was doing it for a reason that the Katz family needed help, and that's just kind of how the family always operated, and I came away with friends that I have to this day. Look, I haven't worn a uniform in decades. And I came out of the police academy in 1984. So we got guys on the job who were retiring that they were born after I came out of the academy. But I came out of the academy, I did the job, I saw things that I never expected to see. And I was involved in situations I never could have imagined. But I made lifelong friends that to this day, I talk to one gentleman in particular probably every week, every 2 weeks, and another guy that if 3 weeks go by and we don't chat, then something's wrong. So it was really that has kept me sort of tied in. And I'm sorry that I'm the only guy that you're saying has advocated for law enforcement officers on the air. I think that's sad. I should be one of many as far as I'm concerned. But, I think you can stop being a police officer, but you don't ever stop being a cop. And
Yeah.
to this day, I mean, Heidi is forever yelling at me as we're driving, like, "You don't have to slow down." It's like, well, yeah, but there's a car stop over there, and somebody might need. What are you going to do? I mean, really, you're. Well, all right, probably not much, but you just instinctively hit the brake, and I want to sit where I'm facing the door, and all of these other things that I just don't think they ever leave you.
So, what was it like on the job in Philly in 1984? Because I can't imagine that town now.
Well, City of Philadelphia is, as I always describe it, a great place to be from. It is. You talk about interesting and colorful. And there was a time, certainly when I was growing up in the city as a little kid, Frank Rizzo was the mayor, and Frank Rizzo was an ex-cop. Frank rose all the way up through the ranks, wound up as police commissioner. There are photographs of him in a tuxedo with a nightstick in his cummerbund because he was headed to a riot from one of these big campaign dinners that he was at.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
Well, as we sit here in the Plaque Shack, your broadcast headquarters, I'm looking at this on your desk.
yeah.
There it is.
Yep,
Liberty Bell.
there it is.
with,
Liberty Bell.
Yes,
All right.
indeed.
Frank Rizzo's name on it.
Yeah, yeah. Frank was an interesting guy. Frank Rizzo was probably 6'4", and he had a bodyguard by the name of Tony Fullwood. He was his detail guy from the police department. And Frank Rizzo was an incredibly successful politician because he kept that cop mindset. He could walk into a crowd. He knew people's names. He knew who their parents were. He knew what they did. It was like, hey, pal, hey, buddy. He knew. He'd say, hey, Dennis, how is such and such? And Al, let me ask you about this and that. And people just loved that about him. And Tony Fullwood, who was his bodyguard, was even bigger than Frank Rizzo was. I mean, he was probably 6'8", 6'9", and just built like a small building. And Rizzo, again, was an interesting guy. And during that time, there was a certain amount of respect for law enforcement in Philadelphia. City of Philadelphia, as Frank Rizzo pointed out, had enough members of the Philadelphia Police Department to invade Cuba if necessary. So far as I know, there never was an invasion of Cuba, but Frank said that the department was ready if, in fact, he had to invade Cuba.
Wow.
Yeah. Now you fast forward a few years to the 80s. Frank Rizzo is no longer mayor. He's been gone for a while. You had a mayor by the name of Wilson Good who was not particularly police friendly. And in addition to that, he was most notable because it was during his time in office that the MOVE headquarters in West Philadelphia was bombed with, was it Kovacs or Tovex? I forget what it is. Some sort of military and I think C4.
Jeez.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. There was a group called MOVE, a radical left-wing, terror-friendly organization, and they had a house on Osage Avenue in West Philadelphia, and then they sort of built a compound. And the first time that the Philadelphia police went in, it would have been, I think it was 1978, and Jim Ramp was a member of the stakeout union. He was killed in the line of duty trying to take down the MOVE headquarters, and it was a few years later where Gregor Sambor was the commissioner. I forget who the fire commissioner was. I think it was Harry Hairston, and Wilson Good was the mayor. And this group had essentially taken over the whole block. People on that block felt that they were prisoners on this block. They were out there with bullhorns and, loudspeakers, and they didn't believe in bathing. They didn't pay any bills, so the plumbing didn't work. It was foul. And ultimately, the mayor, who then pawned it off on other people, but the mayor gave the order, yes, have a helicopter fly over.
Oh, wait a minute.
You remember now? Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I remember that.
They dropped, what, like a 50-gallon oil drum filled?
I don't even, I remember C4 and something I think that ended in X, Kovex, Tovex, something like that.
Simtex.
Is that what it was?
Probably
I
Simtex.
yield to you. I don't know, and I'm happy to say I don't remember the details on that, but it was not exactly one of the highlights.
Suffice to say, there was probably a Fourth Amendment violation somewhere in there.
Alan, you could have gone down the list. I'm sure there were other amendments as well.
I'm just going to go straight to that.
Yeah, it was just. I don't know what the technical term is these days, but I do believe the word cluster is involved somewhere in the phraseology.
Well, this is
Foobar.
this is
yeah.
You can say it. This is a podcast.
Yeah.
That is just fucked up.
Yeah.
There is a YouTube video on that. That's how I remember, because somebody had told me about that. They said, Philadelphia PD dropped a bomb on a house years ago, and I'm like, what? Get out of here!
No way.
There's no fucking way. They dropped. Like, no, they did. It's you can find it. So I'm like, well, of course, I'm gonna investigate and find it. And sure enough,
Yeah.
and there's a whole YouTube video on the incident and them
Yeah.
dropping a bomb.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, it
So,
really was real.
Yeah.
This was the law enforcement environment in which you stepped.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I'm guessing you were on the job a year or two, and crack hits.
Yeah, we had a lot of issues in Philadelphia and surrounding areas with crack. You had PCP at that time was a very, very popular sort of a thing. People were dusted on a regular basis, and it was a difficult time. It was this difficult time, frankly, for anybody who was going out there and doing the job, trying to do the job. And like I said, I mean, I did not spend a lifetime doing it. I saw things, I did things. I can remember my first shift. I had a friend of mine who was actually my field training officer, Mike Yost, and I just remember having this mindset of, well, you know, the people that I'm dealing with are going to see us certainly in a very negative light. You know, we're like an army of occupation and all of these other things. And I have to understand that, and I have to be sensitive to that. And I can remember having this chat with Mike in the patrol car, and you know, if his face could have exploded, it would have. But he's like, okay. And then, you know, the first call we get is some sort of a domestic disturbance. And I can remember somebody tossed this giant glass ashtray and hit me in the head. It's like, well, screw it. Everybody's going to jail. I don't need to know anything about any of this background.
And done.
And yes, done and dusted, as the Brits would say. So, you know, it was a great awakening, as crazy as it sounds, because I was a nice kid from Northeast Philadelphia, Oxford Circle. We didn't have interaction with the police. If you did something wrong, nobody on the street needed to call the police because you would have been chatted with the entire way home. Every door would open and everybody would have something to say. So by the time you got home, that was the easy part. You know, there wasn't law enforcement interaction. And then this was the opposite, where everybody in this environment knew who the police were. They knew which cop was going to do this and which cop would do that, and who you should run from and who you shouldn't run from. And I think one of the wake-up calls for me was running after people. And again, I'm young. My leather is still shiny. Everything looks good, and I'm running, and I'm looking at there's nobody running with me. I was like, well, you get all out of breath, go back to where were you? And Mike, who again the field training was, look, let me explain this to you. It says the guy who is an a-hole tonight, he's going to be one tomorrow too. And the day after, and you'll have another chance to make your arrest. So you want to do what you're doing? Fantastic. I'll be right here when you're done. And it's like, oh, okay.
He's a frequent flyer. You're going
exactly
to see
right.
him tomorrow.
That's right.
Yeah, he's not going too far.
No, you will eventually be on a first name basis with him, and whether you want to be or not.
His mama lives over there.
That's
His
right.
cousins are down the street. Yeah.
And that's the veteran.
Absolutely.
The veteran going, okay,
Yeah.
we're going to play the long game.
That's exactly right. That's exactly. I had one guy I worked with who was such an amazing cop, and it was midnights, and we used to call him last out, but it was midnight shift. And all he wanted to do, he had, I don't know, let's say 12 months, 18 months till he retired. Last thing he wanted to do was police work. And here I am, all that I want to do is police work. Well, number one, I'm not driving. So if there is something that's supposed to be answered, may get there, may not get there, may have something else to do. But it became sort of a routine. We'd do roll call, we'd get in the car, he'd say, soup. Let's go get some soup. And so we would go and we would get a bowl of soup. And he would eat a soup, and he would have a sandwich. And, okay, it's like 2 a.m. or whatever. well, let's go over here. And I said, oh my God. And I couldn't stand it, but I got it. You know, he did 25 years. Last thing that he wants to do. But there was one call that will stay with me forever. Some guys were gambling on the street. And it's not the biggest situation. So he had a little table set up, you know, a little 3-card Monte. And Dick was like, oh, well, we got to answer this one. And we go. And I said, oh, you know, there they are. I said, no, I see him. He didn't get out of the car. We didn't get out of the car. He just started driving on the sidewalk as cards and currency and guys are just flying out of the way. And he pulled back into the street and drove off like we had gone through a drive-through. And it's like, oh, my God, really? But
I can tell you that
Taken care of.
similar things may have occurred in Richmond.
I can neither confirm nor deny that strategy has been used in other locations.
I would say it is not unique to southeastern Pennsylvania. No.
I would agree.
Yeah.
No. So you do 5 years there,
Yeah.
and then you're like, time to move on.
Yeah. Again, my motivation was not to make a career of it.
Right.
I needed a job.
You need a job.
I needed a job, and I don't like hot things, so I wasn't going to be a firefighter. And, you know, God bless them, but I think they're nuts, you know, running into the burning building because it's hot.
Yeah, but they get to have sleepovers.
True.
They did nap time and all that stuff.
That's right.
And they get to play Betty Crocker and all that, too. So.
Exactly. They're doing Iron Chef in the break room.
That's right.
We're going to get some nasty grams from firefighters.
We are.
But they figured out how to get paid for sleeping, and
which really makes them smarter than us.
Geniuses.
a lot smarter than us, because were we to sleep on the job, again, hypothetically, this is a very bad thing.
Yeah.
And but I did a couple of years there, and I said, okay, what is it that I really want to do? And I got very active in police union activities, and once you do that, it's very clear. Even if you were thinking about a career, this is probably not going to be your avenue. If you wanted stripes, you wanted bars, you wanted to swap the blue shirt for the white shirt, that just wasn't going to happen. And I had an ability to write. I was relatively comfortable speaking publicly, and I said, well, I'm going to roll the dice here, and I'm going to try something else. And I took a job at a radio station in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and I was a salesman, and I was like the worst radio salesman in the history of radio. Oh, no, I was bad. I mean, I was really, really bad. We played easy listening music. And God, and I don't mean there were no vocals. It was elevator music. It was terrible.
Oh,
it was the sort of stuff that was painful to listen to. we had a sales piece that talked about how we were #1 in funeral homes. So that'll give you an idea of the sort of music.
That is great.
Yeah. And I'm telling you now, you.
Sorry, I'm just. I'm picturing. I'm like
The guy running into like the station manager. Sir, come look at this. We're #1 in funeral homes.
Yep. We were very proud of that fact.
Oh, my
we were very
God.
proud. You have not lived until you have heard the Montevani string version of Funky Cold Medina. It is just something that has to be experienced.
Oh God.
I'm still stuck on #1 in funeral homes. I don't think I'm ever going to get past that. Oh my gosh,
Yeah, it was bad.
the dead love you.
That's right. They did. Oh my gosh! If you couldn't move, you were our listener. That was.
God.
That's so good.
And, there are only so many funeral homes in any given area, and after you run out of those, there's nobody else left to sell. And I remember I went into our sales manager, and I said, there was an opening on the air, to be on the air. It was 6.5 days a week you would work.
Right.
And it was less money. But I said to Tom, who was our sales manager, who also interestingly had been a cop in West Virginia, where he grew up, and I said, Tom, I want to be on the air. I want to be on the air, and I don't want to leave you high and dry in a lurch, with the sales. And Tom had he had a rather grandiose way of doing things, and he said, well, Jeff, let's look at the sales board, shall we? It's like, okay, January, you sold nothing. February, you sold nothing. March, nothing. April, nothing. Jeff, I think we can get along without you. Fair enough.
All righty.
Yeah. And I went over and I started playing this easy listening music overnight from 10 at night till 6 in the morning. And that was 6 days. And then it was like a half a shift earlier in the day on Sundays.
How did you stay awake?
Well, I can't tell you that I always did. But the thing is, when you're number one in funeral homes and it's 3 o'clock in the morning and the music is not quite what you don't get a lot of complaints.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. And, but what's weird is that I loved it. I was on the air. I just thought that was incredible. And I did that, and I just thought, wow, I'm actually on the radio, and not that anybody's listening to me, but I am on the air. And it was around this time that there was a guy by the name of Rush Limbaugh who was all of a sudden taking a lot of attention nationally. And I went to our general manager, a guy by the name of Dick Taylor, and I said, Dick, I think what I really want to do is talk radio. And he said, okay. He says, we don't have a talk radio station. I said, I know that, but I that's really what I want to do. And he said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do for you. He says that little AM station that was, I don't know, 15 watts. You'd have to wrap your head in tinfoil and lick your finger and stick it to the socket to be able to hear it. He says, I'll give you 2 hours. You can't give up your music shift. And I had been promoted by this point to 8 till midnight, something like that.
The funeral homes are dependent on you.
That's correct. He said, but I'll give you 2 hours on that AM station, but you got to go sell it. And I said, I'm not exactly a salesman. He said, I know, but there's your challenge. Do you want to do it? I said, yep. He says, okay. And I thought that was one of the best lessons I ever had, because now I knew what I was selling, right? When I was selling the other station, I was just sort of selling, and I didn't really know. It's like, well, we don't bother anybody, and, the music is in the background, but now I do. I was selling me. And I was selling what I had to say and what my thoughts were and what my opinions were. But I sold that show for 2 hours, 5 days a week, still did the music thing, and then finally said to Dick Taylor, I said, well, I'm really going to give this a shot to do it full time. This is what I want to do. And it wasn't going to be there. And so started sending stuff out to other stations and went somewhere else. And to this day, Dick Taylor and I stay in touch. He's, a great guy. He was able to see, thank God, that there was some shred of talent somewhere, certainly not in the sales thing in the traditional sense, but as a talk guy. And he and I are about as opposite you get politically, but his son is a police officer. And through the years, he's reached out and had nice things to say, and we've just stayed in touch, and it's just been it's been an interesting, as Alan said, it's been an interesting and colorful ride.
And now I'm starting to see kind of it's like a connect the dots Venn diagram of law enforcement intersecting your other career stuff, because as we sit here in your office, I'm looking at your dad's MP stuff.
Yep.
his badge
Yep.
and patches.
Yep.
And then you just mentioned your pal
Yeah.
and his son.
Yeah.
So somewhere in this talk radio advent, if you will, the wrestling thing comes along.
Yes. So I grew up, my dad and my grandfather were both huge pro wrestling fans. And back in the day, we had different territories. You would have grown up with the NWA, right? Mid-Atlantic.
Mid-Atlantic
Yep,
Wrestling.
yep.
It was on Saturday afternoon.
Absolutely.
Every week.
Yeah.
I remember. Yep.
Okay. Now, where I grew up in Philadelphia, we were the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, the WWWF. That was Bruno Sammartino, Pedro Morales, guys like that. And every once in a while, they would mix up the tapes, and like we'd get a tape from Mid-Atlantic or Georgia Championship Wrestling or Florida Championship Wrestling, and my dad and I'd be like, "Oh my God!" Like we read about these guys in the magazines. Ric Flair, Harley Race,
Oh,
Nick
yeah,
Bachman.
Ric
These were
Flair.
guys we never saw on our shows because they were big where they were, and they didn't come to our area. And Bruno didn't come down here, you know. So it was very, very different. But we loved it, and that became our thing. And my mom refused to let us watch it on the big TV in the living room for fear that somebody would see through the front window that the Katzes were watching this stuff on the television. So every Saturday, my dad and I would have to go down the cellar. I would have to hold the rabbit ears so that we could get. It was on channels 17, 29, and 48, depending on when it was, and that was sort of our thing, and that's what we did, and we used to go to the old Philadelphia Arena in West Philadelphia, and I've got a little reproduction poster over there where it says Arena Wrestling, and you notice,
Oh, yeah.
it doesn't say air conditioned, it says air cooled, and that meant there was a big fan at the top of the arena, and this was still at the time where you could smoke
Oh, wow.
in enclosed areas. So my dad and I would go. It was Saturday nights once a month, and we didn't go all the time, but when my dad had a couple of extra bucks, we would go. And when we would come home, it would be probably 1 a.m. I mean, it was late for like a little kid, and my mom would be awake and make us strip on the front step because our clothing was so foul from the smoke
Oh,
inside the
gosh.
Philadelphia arena. But yeah, so that was sort of a thing. And I kind of grew up as a fan. And then many years later, and there was the radio connection. There was a guy by the name of Larry Sharp. Larry Sharp was a wrestler for Vince McMahon. And he opened the first ever publicly regarded pro wrestling school. And it was always, you had to know somebody who knew somebody, you were related to somebody. That was the only way in. And Larry Sharp opened a school called the Monster Factory in Paulsboro, New Jersey.
I've actually heard of that.
Have you?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it still operates today. King Kong Bundy came through there.
Oh, wow.
What's his name? Oh gosh, now I forget. Bam Bam Bigelow. I mean, there were a number of big folks who came through there, and I had him on a radio show in Atlantic City, and it was actually Hamilton, New Jersey, which is even smaller, but had him on, and it was fun. And he said, well, you ought to come up here sometime. And I said, okay. And I went up, and he said, you know, this is what we do, and this is how we do it, and you think that you might be interested in this? And, oh, yeah, you know, this would be great. I mean, wonderful. And he said, okay, so here's the first thing you need to know. And you have to understand there were a couple of rings set up, and there were guys all over the place, and they were just going through different things, different practices. He said, all right, so the first thing everybody's got to know is how to fall. I said, okay. He said, so you fall straight. Don't let anything hit first. Don't put your hands out. You got to fall flat so that your arms are hitting at the same time, and otherwise you're going to mess stuff up. And I couldn't do that to save my life. He's all right. And he calls over a guy. The guy's name was Glenn Ruth, who actually went on to work for Vince McMahon as part of the Headbangers. Right? No, Head Thrashers. There was Thrash and Mosh, the Headbangers. And they came out like in these skirts. I mean, they did very well. And he said, all right, Glenn, kneel down. I'm gonna push Jeff. I was like, okay. And he pushed me over, and he said, yeah, you're going to be a talker. You're just not very good at this. Okay. I was okay. I could talk. And that was kind of my first entree into it. And the very first time I worked anything, I worked as a ring announcer. And it was the Cowtown Rodeo, which was it was just this dry, dusty field with a ring, and they had rodeos there in South Jersey, and this was after it had rained.
Oh gosh!
And I had a tuxedo. I had my old, always shiny black 3/4 boots from the job, and I walked through this mud that kept getting higher and higher and higher on my legs on this tuxedo that I had bought, and it was just crazy. But I loved it. I mean, I just loved it.
So you were doing that and
the radio.
and like
Yeah.
talk radio
Yeah.
simultaneously.
Oh yeah. It's always been together, and part of it was for some of the wrestling stuff. When I eventually lived in Boston and was working for the NWA, I would get off the air Friday morning. And Friday night we would have a show, 2 shows on Saturday, 1 show at least on Sunday, sometimes 2. We ran the 6 states of New England. And depending on what we were doing, I did the television for a program called Mass Madness, which was originated in Boston. And I was a bad guy manager. And God,
That's awesome.
I loved it. It was so much fun, and yeah.
That's awesome.
Had you
That-
gotten married at this point?
No. and let me give you an idea.
This was pre-bride.
It was pre-bride.
Okay.
But I'll give you an idea of just how Heidi and her family reacted to the wrestling, because Heidi knew that I worked in this, and she had told her parents that Jeff is involved in wrestling, and they, both her mom and dad, fine human beings, multiple, her dad had, I don't know how many degrees, he was an English, a math teacher, head of the math department. He just thought it was collegiate wrestling. It's like, oh, no, we're...
No, there's folding chairs. There's,
Yeah, there's all sorts of insanity. And I came home one night. Heidi was at my house, and we had a show somewhere down in Connecticut. I don't know if it was Hartford or somewhere around that area. But I came back, and she says, how'd it go? Because it was probably 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. And everything in wrestling, if it's 500 miles or less, was considered local, which meant you had to figure out how to get there and get back, and you didn't get any transportation money. Nobody put you up in a hotel or motel. 500 miles was just like driving to the office.
Yes.
So, 150 miles down to Connecticut was nothing. But I got back. She said, oh, how did it go? I said, oh, it's great. I got hit in the head with this giant cup of soda that somebody in the audience threw. And
That sounds terrible.
right, and she just looked at me and goes, there's just something wrong with you. I know, but I'm the bad guy. So yes, Heidi just sort of said, there's something wrong with you. I'm going to bed, and but that was the thing. If you were the bad guy, you were the heel, then that was a win.
Yeah, we had to piss somebody off.
I was good at that. I know it's a shot, right? But
yeah, but if they're not throwing stuff,
right,
yeah,
I'm not winning.
you're not winning.
If I'm not getting hit with something, then by God, I've done something wrong.
You are not making your sales numbers.
Let's go to the big board, shall we, Alan? In January, I got hit with 1 soda. All right, it's a start,
February, though, you were up to 3 sodas
That's
and a
right.
popcorn container.
Oh, the popcorn was the best.
That's
Heavily
beautiful.
buttered, you know. That was good stuff.
It's gold.
Well, and I will add this. There is a. I don't even know if you've seen this, Denny.
Uh-oh.
You can go to YouTube
I've seen YouTube.
and you can just search Jeff Katz Jerry Springer show.
I have not seen that.
It's funny as shit
Get out of town.
because somehow we went from
Shut the
Philly
front door.
PD to #1 in funeral homes at the Easy Listening Station to wrestling to somehow we're on the Jerry Springer show now.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask, how the hell did that happen? Because all these years I thought that was real.
Well, I'm not saying it's not real. I'm just saying it was.
I saw the episode. It's not real.
It's not real? Okay. Suffice to say that the guy that that he and I were going at it, Woody, was a guy I worked with in a variety of pro wrestling enterprises through the years. He was actually a pretty cool guy.
Is that where they were drawing people from?
Yeah.
Like regional?
Yeah.
That explains so much.
Yeah. Yeah. You could sit and watch the old shows and say, hey, that's Alan from Mid-Atlantic. That's Dennis from Georgia Championship. That's that's Nick from the AWA. And
No shit.
yeah, you can go. I'm telling you, watch them,
See,
and then you go back and look, see where these folks came from. Yeah.
Yeah, because Jerry Springer basically did structured pro wrestling, if you will.
Yeah, Springer always gave him.
I mean, they sat down. Somebody wore a tie.
Well, and if you'd probably be able to find the same tie on a number of people because they had wardrobe. When you went there, they had you basically rummage through the wardrobe and pick out stuff that sort of fit. You'll notice there's a lot of stuff that doesn't quite fit right depending on who's on stage. And and they had said before we did our
Denny's over here looking this up.
are you looking at it now?
I'm trying to. I'm looking.
And they said, no, you can't hit. Nobody can touch each other because they had gotten in trouble. If you
Right,
remember, there was a
right.
lot of stuff, and Steve was the big security guy, the bald-headed guy, and they're like, well, you can get really close, but don't touch him. And think about it. I mean, who better than people in the world of pro wrestling to position themselves,
Know how to do it.
Know how to do it.
Make it look convincing.
Yeah.
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 So, what years were you doing the wrestling stuff?
I'm trying to think now. It would have been like Jerry Springer and the NWA New England stuff, like 1998.
Okay.
Again, this is like ancient history.
Well, I had just come on the job.
Yeah,
And
well,
I came on the job in '97.
okay. Well,
So, yeah.
yeah.
So,
Nah, I'm not saying anything, but
we're all kind of up there at this point.
We've already addressed it before on a previous podcast.
but you look marvelous. I mean, it's incredible.
Thank you. There's a fair amount of gray around this room.
There is. Yeah, that's. It's wisdom. It's wisdom. It's follicular wisdom. Is that a word?
It is now.
It is, right? Yeah. I heard it on a podcast. It's got to be real. So it's.
That's right. That's right.
So you got out of that.
Yeah.
You continued down doing the talk radio thing. I know you were out in Vegas for a
Yep.
while.
Yeah.
You ultimately made your way back east.
Yes.
And now you've been here in Central Virginia for what, 10 years now?
Yeah. This is starting year number 11. Yeah. Yeah. It was an interesting place to wind up because I had been doing mornings in Boston, and we were doing well. Our station had just eclipsed the competition, which is what our goal was to do. And as happens, especially in radio, and especially at that time, there was a bean counter somewhere that said, we're spending how much? And they said, well, we'll just shut it down. And that's what they did.
Oh, wow.
And
Jeez.
and unfortunately, it happens all the time in radio. It's a revenue business. Are we making money? Or are we not making money? Are these people popular? Or are they not popular? Okay. Is it translating? Now, in this case, we were the third talk station in Boston, and we were the really only consistent conservative station. We started out as Rush Radio, and there were a number of stations that had that moniker of Rush Radio. Some places, I think it was Winston-Salem. There was I think Raleigh, some southern stations where the Rush Radio brand was fantastic, huge. People immediately migrated there. Boston, it was a tougher lift. There's, all the conservatives knew each other. We could all fit here, and
They could all fit in this.
it's exactly
in
right.
This shack.
Yeah. I mean, Pixie wouldn't even have to move. She'd be set. So we eventually changed that to Talk 1200, which is a little better reception. And we were truthfully making exactly the sort of progress that we had all hoped for. And there just comes a point, somebody, at that point, it was a company called Clear Channel, which became iHeart Radio, iHeart Media. Somebody in the financing said, and they weren't in Boston. They didn't know anything about Boston, and they didn't care what the ratings was like. Yeah, we can save X number of dollars. We have a live guy in the morning. We have a live guy in the afternoon. We've got a program. That's it, and that was it. And the gentleman who was programming overall for the company, great guy. I mean, truly one of the brilliant radio guys. Friend of mine, and as Heidi points out, she always knew when I was talking to Ken, because, again, Heidi's words, I love her, you're both cranky Jews. And she said, like, I could be talking to Ken on the phone in one side of the house, and she heard every word he said 5 rooms down. She said, oh, you're talking to Ken again. Yeah. Hi, Heidi. One of those.
It's like my bride talking to her North Jersey siblings.
Absolutely.
I'm like, you're on the phone.
Yeah.
You're right there.
Right. But that is a normal Jersey conversational tone.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Volume is
Exactly.
set to max.
That's exactly right.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Ken was, he was always an 11 and a brilliant guy. Grew up initially in Jersey, wound up in Tampa, and
which is basically Jersey South. Kinda.
And if you go even further, say get to Broward County in South Florida, that is officially the 6th borough of New York City. It's
Yep.
right. It's just it's craziness. But Ken was in Tampa for a long time. Fort Homer Hesterly Armory. One of the bases for NWA. So, I mean, we had all of this sort of crazy connection. And we just became friends. And again, he's just a brilliant radio guy. There's just, I can't say enough good things about him. And he and I really were building this station. And he was just, he hated it when they took it off. And he said, have you ever thought about Richmond? And I said, no. I've been through Richmond. I had worked, a couple of like wrestling shows in the area. I had been up and down 95. I knew, as I said to him, I said, yeah, there's like a tobacco plant on one side of the highway. It looks like a pack of cigarettes. And he says, yeah, well, we're going to have an opening down there in afternoons. Any interest? And I didn't really know. I mean, I knew the call letters. WRVA is a legendary station. We're coming up on 100 years.
Oh, wow.
It's an amazing station, and I humbly say it's done a lot of good stuff for Central Virginia throughout 100 years. But I didn't know. I mean, it's a much smaller market than Boston. It, frankly, is a much smaller market than most of the places that I've been in. And I said, well, I don't know. I mean, I really just don't know. He said, well, why don't you go down? Because if you want it, it's yours. And just like I said, part of the reason I do a lot of these fill-ins, because I got the 2 boys in college, and I got Julia, who I got to take care of as long as I'm here, and then take care of her after I'm gone. I mean, that's a heavy lift.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, well, I mean, it's a job, it's a salary, it's benefits, it's all the regular good stuff. Plus, it's it's radio. It's all indoor work. It's not you're not filling potholes on the highway, man. This is okay. And long story short, I came down and everybody at that radio station immediately decided I was not going to stay. That, the guy from Boston who had been in Boston and Philadelphia and San, he's not staying in Richmond. I don't need to bother,
Well, I think when you came down, you had already had like some cable news stuff under your and notches in your belt.
Yeah.
When you came.
Yeah,
So,
I had been a regular CNN early morning show 1,000 years ago, but had that and a lot of Fox hits and bigger radio markets.
Right.
And it was really, really interesting because some of the salespeople, and again, it's a business. You got to sell spots. People have to invest in your show. And they're like, yeah, I'm not going to bother selling his show because he's not going to stay. Because everybody before me for, 15 years was here for a year, 2 years, and then left.
Yeah, it was kind of a revolving door.
It was.
They had a couple good people in that
Yep.
time slot.
Yeah.
But nobody stayed.
Nobody stayed.
And they were gone 2-3 years.
Yep.
Tops. They
Yeah.
were gone.
Yeah.
And of course, like you said, the station's old. It's been
Yeah.
around forever.
Yeah.
When I was little, it was Alden Arrow, Millard the Mallard, school closings, and they played what we would now call yacht rock.
Right.
Yacht rock.
And that was the station.
Yeah.
And, yacht rock is just a nice new term for easy listening. You know that,
Yeah.
right?
No.
Yeah,
I don't.
There's enough gray in this room, we can be honest, can't we?
It chills me out.
I'm about to say, there's some yacht rock saved on your XM somewhere.
Oh, there's an entire station. I'll own it.
You know it's
I'm
saved
also
there.
wearing a social distortion shirt, though, too.
Very true. Very true.
Well, you're repping Social D. I like that. That's
So,
another thing.
I can bounce back and forth.
Yeah. Well,
So you came here, like, over a decade ago.
yeah.
And one of the things that, because I was still on the job, Denny was still on the job,
Yeah.
and one of the things that just almost immediately jumped out and kind of got my attention, I know it got the attention of a lot of the people in our circle, is this guy's always talking about cop stuff. He's always talking about cop. He's
Politely.
Yeah.
The good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's always talking about it. And, it's taken a while to get there, but we're here. Like I said, your career is colorful, and I want to do it justice. So, yeah, it was like, wow, wait a minute. He's going to cop events.
yeah.
He's advocating for guys that were hurt. Or,
Yeah.
What? It was like head snap back, because it's not what you expect.
Yeah.
I mean, even in something like conservative talk radio, which is, generally speaking, cop friendly. Not always, but
Not always,
generally
yeah.
speaking, is cop friendly. It's not something that you hear it, and also it was not just advocating for guys on the job, but guys on the job locally.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting thing. As I was sort of dealing with this stuff, as I said, some of the folks at the radio station like, he's not going to stay. And the more that I was here, the more I just liked Central Virginia, and I liked the people of Central Virginia. And what I have realized over the years, look, 20 years ago, you could not have met a bigger Jeff Katz fan than Jeff Katz. Right? I mean, I'm just being honest with you, man. I was impressed with the fact that I was on the radio, and man, I thought I was pretty good, and what I've learned over the years, particularly after Julia was born, there's just so much more, and now I'm going to sound preachy, but I just think there's so much more to life, and I think there are obligations. I believe that to my core. And I had been, and to this day, I had been a peer counselor. We started that back when I was on the job in Philadelphia. There were some guys got together. We formed this group called Cops Helping Cops. And I don't have to explain to you guys why. You couldn't talk to somebody on the outside. You saw things you didn't want people to know about. And God forbid at that time you appeared weak or you said, geez, I don't know if this is something I can handle. So I stayed involved in that just because I thought it was important. Even as I was, like I said, I was impressed with me. Man, I did this and I was in this station and this market and all this other stuff. But when I got here, with the background with Julia, where you just, for us anyway, for Heidi and myself, this was all at once. I mean, it was like a kick below the belt, and it was also, hey, dude, you got to man up here.
And for those that don't know, Jeff's daughter is severely developmentally disabled.
Yeah.
And will be with you
Yep.
forever.
Forever. Yeah. Julia will be with us forever. And like I said, I mean, when we're gone, we got to take care of her.
Right.
So it is just an eye-opening experience. I would like to think it changed me for the better. And when I got here, I really had an opportunity to embrace that more than I had in some other places. Now, I had consistently through the years advocated for police officers, maintained my connection to law enforcement as a peer counselor. But again, that's not something that you are out there talking about. The whole point of it is that it's one-on-one, or it's a small group, and one of the cornerstones, at least for my involvement and from my involvement, has been, a certain degree of anonymity. If you call me up and go, hey man, I really got a problem with this, I'm not turning around and saying, hey, let me tell you about this guy who's going through such and such. So I had that connection, and once I got here, I just thought, okay, I like this area. Can we make it a home? And Alan knows, I mean, there was a long period of time. I was going back and forth from here to Boston.
Oh, wow.
Because we couldn't find services for Julia.
Yeah.
And my oldest boy, who is at Stanford, was on track to be the valedictorian of his high school class. And if I would have issued an edict that said, we're moving, we wouldn't be here, because he would have smothered me in my sleep. So I said, okay, well, again, I will suck it up. And my friends who are like FBI and DEA guys, I mean, they deal with that all the time, right? They got to go 2 years here. They're gonna get a promotion of some sort. They're gonna have to move. They've got kids in school, or the wife is like, I am not moving to Utah, or no, I've never really wanted to go to Boise, Idaho. Sorry, not going to do it. And so we commiserate. They always described it as the sad pad. They've had sad pads. And so I had the sad pad here, and I would go back and forth. And I did that. I did that for years, and it's a pretty crappy existence personally. And at the same time, I'm telling Heidi, this is a great community. There are great people here. You would be blown away. And I said, I wanted to embrace it as best I could. And right as I had been here, I guess, 2 years or thereabouts, the whole Michael Brown thing happens.
Yep.
And that was the kickoff for Blue Friday.
Yep.
I said, okay, I've got a platform. And this is just nonsense. This is just BS. This is not the way the vast majority of folks who are doing the job should be portrayed, and I'm going to do something about it. And I said to the program director at the time, I've got this idea. What do you think? Is it okay? Absolutely. Run with it. The problem that I had was getting cooperation from law enforcement.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Well, because I would reach out to the chief of police. I would reach out to the sheriff and like, what is this really all about? Why would you want one of my guys on the air? What sort of questions are? No.
I'll just tell you right now, those kind of inquiries scare the shit out of a lot of chiefs.
Right.
Scare the shit out of them.
Yeah. And man, that's what I faced. And I said, look, I got to explain this to you. 1,000 years ago in a galaxy far, far away, I was a cop, pushed the car around, blah, 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 blah. This is all positive. This is the exact opposite of what's going on right now. And it's all pre-recorded. There's nothing live. Nobody's going to... And it was tough at first. It took me a couple of months before I could actually get somebody to put on the air. And it was a detective out of Chesterfield, was the very first guy. And since then, I feel blessed to say now we've got chiefs, we've got sheriffs, we've got all sorts of agencies reaching out and saying, hey, I've got somebody I'd like to nominate. Hey, this is a good dude and you ought to put him on the air. Or, she did this amazing job and somebody needs to know about it. And a couple of years back, Jan McTurnan passed away. And when I first got here, Jan had reached out to me, and I didn't know her.
And she was a lieutenant with Richmond PD.
That's exactly right. Yep. And Jan reached out and said, hey, I heard you talking on the air, and you mentioned that you were Jewish, and you mentioned that you were a cop. Well, I'm Jewish, and I'm a retired lieutenant, and blah, 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 blah. Where are they going to have you, or where are you going to live? And again, I didn't know her. I mean, it's on Facebook Messenger. I have no idea who this person is, and yet, for whatever reason, I answered her, and she then reached out to me. Long story short, I said to her, well, they've got me in corporate housing for the next 90 days, and it's in such and such area. And she said, okay. Now, it wasn't 20 minutes. I had a file from her. Crime stats, places you should eat, places you shouldn't eat. Here's the times that most of the criminal activity in this area takes place. Oh, wow, this is insane. Right before those 90 days expired, she reached out again and said, did you get someplace to live? And I said, okay, I'm going to talk to Rich, and you'll just stay with us. And now at this point, I knew her a teeny tiny little bit. I had no idea who Rich was. That was her husband. And they opened their home to me. Oh, wow. They opened their home to me in Prince George. And they said, well, no, you'll just stay here till you get whatever it is that you need. And she was like my second mom. I mean, although she corrected me, because I did say that one time to her. I said, well, Jan, you're like my second Jewish mom. She says, no. And I thought, oh, my God, what did I say? I've offended her. She says, I'm more like your cool older sister. I said, yes, you're absolutely right, Jan. That's exactly what you are. And so when she passed away a couple of years ago, I reached out to her sons and said, what do you think? Would it be okay? Could I rename it? And we all started laughing together, like, oh, she would hate that. Oh, she would be pissed at you. She would be like, no. This is about the job. This is about the mission. I don't need anybody to know who I am. Blah blah. And we all agreed. Yeah, that the only way I could have named it after her is if she had passed away. I mean, if she were alive, forget about it. I mean, she would have beaten all three of us up. But so that's what we did. We renamed it, and it's now, I think it's 8 years that it's been running.
But
that's 9 years. Yeah,
you got to the point though where people I know were coming to you, off air.
Yeah.
And saying, hey, you need to look at this. Hey, you need to look at that.
Yeah.
And you would talk about it.
Yeah. 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 I think the show's important, and it's not important because it's the Jeff Katz Show, although that certainly helps with the boys in college. It's important because I'd like to think that I've reached a point here where people know they can trust me, They are willing to share things that are happening over here or things off the record that you really should take a look into. I can't be connected to this, but here's how you might become aware of it.
But for cops to do that with anyone who's outside, particularly somebody who is in media,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
you know, speaks volumes. So
Well, I think just the hurdles you had initially show that it's against the norm,
Yeah.
and that it's hard to build that trust, because the initial reaction is, like you said, what are you going to be asking them? What are they going to be talking about?
Yeah.
And they're expecting that negative, that you're going to bring my person on and you're going to ambush them with something and,
Right.
try to get some negative spin out there. So, but you've done a great job with it. That's amazing.
Well,
it's
thank you.
amazing. Absolutely.
Thank you.
and now you got what you were out, and Sheriff Leonard in Chesterfield and Chief Katz in Chesterfield
Yeah.
were guest hosting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But rewind 10 years.
Yeah.
That would have been unheard of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Unheard
Yeah.
of.
Not not a chance. There's just not a chance that would have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And kudos to them for doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, Sheriff Leonard, he's elected, he can do what he wants.
Right.
But the fact that the county let Chief Katz do it
Yeah.
and seemingly didn't blink,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that's pretty good.
I think it is a cool situation. I'm blown away every single day that I get the chance to do what I do. And like I said, there's this opportunity now really to help people who are not ordinarily open to help on the air, for sure, just to shine a light, even if it's just once a month for the actual Blue Friday program, just so that people who are in the audience understand that there is more to the profession than they're aware of. And I have made it a point that when we do the Lieutenant Jan McTurnan Blue Friday Honor, number one, we air it twice. It's at 3:30 and at 5:30. I don't want anybody to miss it. I want to make sure that it's there. And throughout the years, it's gotten to the point where the folks who are coming in know about the Blue Friday. Like, I don't have to explain it to them at this point. And invariably, they will say, well, why me? Right? Because when you do these sorts of things, as you guys know, you're doing something that is heroic. You are doing something that's great. You're not thinking about yourself. And just about every single one of the people who have been honored throughout the years, like, yeah, I don't deserve this, or I don't know why I got it. I'm not really that. I didn't do anything that was particularly important or special. And it's like, well, that's the whole point, is that you don't do it because you're thinking, well, somebody's going to come along and they're going to air a segment on me, or this is going to. It's like, it has to be done. And one of the best guys was out at Chesterfield when Emily Morrissey, I wear my bracelets every day. Her family, they had a house fire, and they lost their house. And the responding officer showed up, and they explained, hey, Emily is disabled. She is 25, but, sort of a childlike developmental stage. And he said, I got this. And he helped carry her, because, again, the house is on fire. She doesn't have shoes on. And that's who they're worried about, because the rest of them are going to figure out a way. He got her in his car, drove a little bit away from the house, pointed in another direction, so she's looking out the window in the opposite direction, had music on, and did more for that family in a couple of minutes with that girl than just was even imaginable. And the difference that it made for them, and the difference that he was able to make. And I'm telling you, we sat with him. The Morrisseys came in that day that we recorded that, and that was kind of a surprise. And he was just like, well, yeah, I mean, but anybody who answered the call would have done that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, but that's that. I just want people to know that. I want civilians who have never had to tell someone, hey, your son, yeah, he's not coming home because there was a crash, there was a stabbing, there was a this, there was a that. To say to somebody, you're going away, or your loved one is going away. One of the best calls I ever had. I was working in a smaller town because we all worked with various departments. 'Cause nobody made any money. When I was patrolling, I made $17,298 a year. I thought I had hit the lottery. I mean, that was great. I had a second floor apartment in Philadelphia. I did go out and buy a new car, Chevy Caprice Classic Brougham, which I loved, but it's another story. But I was working for a second department and got a call. And went to the house, and it's a guy who is, I don't know, 85, 90 years old. And he says, look, my wife is in the bathtub, and she can't get out. And I can't lift her. Can you help? I said, well, yeah, of course. Well, but she really, she's in the bathtub. And she's not going to feel good about you looking at her. So, I'm a young guy. I'm not going to be looking at the great grandmother, but you're faced with the situation, right?
Sure.
You got to get her.
Right.
So I said, okay, well, you go in there and you give her the towel and you can help wrap it around. And I got her out. Well, this made her day. She was so grateful for that tiny little piece of compassion, humanity, respect for her, and she wound up. She made cookies for us. Everybody was like, Jeff got her out of the bathtub, and now we got chocolate chip cookies. This is a great deal that we got here. But there's that part of humanity in every single day for cops, and people don't see that, and they don't appreciate it. You're just the jerk who wrote me a ticket because I was doing 2 miles an hour over, or okay, I'm standing on the street and I have, I got booze in this cup, but come on, it's a party, and why are you busting me for that? And that's what they remember, right? Everybody, if you've ever taken a statistics class, right? Negative stuff is always overrepresented. I mean, I don't know, I think it's a 10-to-1 margin. So everybody remembers the ticket. Yep. Nobody remembers the guy who said, well, let your wife put a towel on before we go in and pick her up. And I want people to know about that part of it.
No, and I think you've done a fantastic job with that. And which kind of takes me to the next question, which is, where do you think we are at now? Because Denny and I talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
And, obviously the theme of our show is mental health.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just because we hit a certain age and a certain tenure that it circled back around and it ultimately bites you in the ass.
Yeah.
Or you see it, bite a good friend in the ass.
Yep.
Yep. And you're like, holy shit, this has been percolating for a while.
Yeah.
But then you have just the political environment for law enforcement over the last 8 years, really.
Yep.
And the leadership environment. We have a theory, and if you want to respond to it, I'd love to hear.
Yeah.
That a lot of our leadership, our agency leadership, and our political leadership are kind of, in some cases, not helping, in other cases, actively driving some of the mental health problems within law enforcement. But what's your take?
I think it is one of the most difficult times in the history of this nation to be a law enforcement officer. I had a conversation with a gentleman who had spent a career in New Jersey, and he's got, I guess, probably 25 years on me. And he compared it to the 1970s, where everything was negative, and you had ambush attacks. I mean, his background started in New York, wound up in New Jersey. I think at the Attorney General's office, but don't quote me on that. But that was his perspective: is that it's very much like it was in the 1970s in some places. And I think you have political leadership right now, which, generally speaking, is fairly weak. It is emboldening people who are amongst the worst when it comes to providing beneficial input to society, and there's a lot of there's a lot of sloganeering. And so if you take a look as an example at some of the bigger cities, San Francisco, New York, what have you, Philadelphia as well, you had this, quote, reimagining of public safety. Well, the reimagining is apparently lawlessness and something that's not that far from anarchy at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this mindset that police cause crime.
Yeah.
And if you are not out policing, there will be no crime.
You're right. There's nothing to see here.
Right.
If we just look away, it's not happening.
It's the ostrich theory.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It really
Yep.
is. Well, I didn't see it.
If you're not out there arresting it, it did not happen.
Right. But then, as it's not happening, somebody who is of the political mindset that this is marvelous goes into Target and realizes, well, I can't take anything off the shelves because everything is behind plexiglass, or I'm the one who's at the cash register paying, and he just walked out carrying 6 jackets that he didn't pay for, and nobody's doing anything about it. We can take a look at the political perspective, and I think the shorthand that most of us use is like, the George Soros prosecutors, but that is the mindset, that somehow it is the criminal who is supposed to be supported and encouraged, and the police officer somehow now has become the bad guy. And to your point, Alan, if you're not out there arresting people, then you don't have these arrests. You don't have Part 1 offenses, and you're not breaking this stuff down. So everything should be good. I mean, we don't have any reports of bad things happening, so bad things are not happening. It's nonsensical, and it is beginning, I hope, to impact the right people. It's not the frontline law enforcement officers, because you do get to that point where, like my field training officer, 20 years in, he's not running after anybody anymore. That's just it. He's just decided. And it's like, okay. But I think it's why, we look at law enforcement, and I certainly have the idea it is sort of a young man's game for that frontline stuff, right? I mean, you've got to be able to go out there and step to the problem and handle it. And if you have gotten to that point where it's like, look, I got 9 months till retire. I'm not getting hurt. I've got my highest salary years in. I know what my pension is going to. I'm not going to screw that up. This is a good shift, because at the end of this shift, frankly, I'm rather well rested, and I can go out and do what I want to do.
Post 2020,
Yeah.
you had a number of those situations. You still have them where guys, they got plenty of years left.
Yeah.
They still got the willingness and the ability, but they're just not going to. Why am I going to stick my neck out?
Right.
Why am I going to get out on that guy?
Yeah.
Why am I going to stop that car? When the minute something goes sideways, I'm in trouble.
That's
it's
right.
my ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if you do everything right,
Even if
still
you do
can be
everything
destroyed.
right.
You could still be destroyed over it.
And we sit here outside of the city of Richmond, but, for a while, and arguably still, city of Richmond's still that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, if you've got prosecutors that will not prosecute the actual criminals and have made it a point to say, I'm going after bad cops. I don't even think you have to go just into the city of Richmond. You can take a look at Henrico. That's a situation.
They're having that too.
Yeah, that's exactly what Shannon Taylor is focused, I believe, on cops. Right? She's running for attorney general. That's really what her activity is at this point. She wants to be the attorney general.
Political expediency.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what that is.
And we're talking about a suburban locality outside of Richmond.
Yeah.
Where that was when I was a teenager and I went to high school in that county. You talk about a law and order county.
Mm-hmm.
Woo!
Yeah.
A law and order county.
Yeah. And I don't know how long that lasts, because there does come a point that all of the people who think these are great policies are going to be impacted by crime. And is it one by one that they say, geez, I don't know, maybe we should lock up criminals, or maybe we shouldn't let murderers out after 15 years, because this is the legislative agenda. All you've got to do is take a look at what's happening in Richmond right now with the General Assembly and some of the proposed legislation. This is about as criminal friendly as you can possibly get. And
I haven't even looked at the bills yet. I can't stomach it.
I don't know if I can either. I really don't.
It's the benefit of being retired at this point.
Right.
I don't read the GA pre-files like I used to.
It's just insanity. And I don't know how big they can make the walls around their communities, right? If you remember during the Antifa BLM stuff in the city of Richmond, that was... first of all, it was mostly peaceful, as I understand. I watched CNN, and they told me that this was mostly peaceful. But it wasn't until people were threatening to march through places like Wyndham in Henrico that the people in Wyndham thought, well, wait a minute now.
Or it was Windsor Farms.
Windsor Farms.
Windsor Farms.
Windsor Farms.
That's right,
I'm sorry.
yes.
Yeah. I apologize. The fine people of Wyndham. They were always on the right side.
Windsor Farms. That's
Windsor Farms.
That's Richmond's old money.
Yeah. But they're I would dare say they are, many of them, much of them, left of center, progressivists. I mean, if you take a look at the voting patterns, they are supporting the very people who are saying, well, that's okay.
They weren't having any of it.
That
Exactly.
Not in their neighborhood.
Not in their neighborhood.
Yeah,
Right,
I mean, in
right,
your
yeah.
neighborhood, it was okay.
Yeah,
That was a political protest.
And funny that you say that, because I grew up downtown, and all of that, all of that stuff that was going on in 2020 was right smack in my personal, professional stomping ground
Right.
for the bulk of my 50 years on planet Earth.
Right.
You know, where I had generations of my family living right at what was then effectively ground zero.
Yeah.
And, you know, thankfully my agency that I was working for at the time, we were not involved in any of the response to that. Thank God.
Right.
But I had many friends that were.
Yeah.
And I was very up on what was going on, and my agency did respond to a couple things down there. But I remember sitting on my deck listening to my yacht rock because I needed to calm down.
Christopher Cross.
It was probably a little Bob Seger smart. Maybe some CSN. Definitely some Hall & Oates. But anyway, sitting on my deck, and I think I scared my wife.
Yeah.
With the Hall & Oates.
No, she's used to that.
She probably is. Yeah.
No, was she concerned that it was only Crosby, Stills, and Nash and not Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young? No, that's...
Nobody likes Neil Young.
Well, I didn't say they did, but...
But I sat on my deck, and I probably sat out there for, 3 hours.
Yeah.
With a bottle of bourbon and my yacht rock
Okay.
on the deck.
Yeah.
Madder than I can remember having been mad in my life.
Yeah.
And I wasn't one of the ones that had to go down there and stand that line and have, things thrown at me.
Yep.
But people I loved were.
Yeah.
And the city I loved did was experiencing this. And the whole time I'm thinking, I'm like, my God, I'm so glad my father's passed away, that he didn't live to see this, because he'd be mortified. He'd be mortified. My dad was not a political person. I never heard my dad talk about politics, left, right, or center. He just, it wasn't on his radar.
Yeah.
But he loved that area.
Yeah.
And he loved the people there, and the institutions there, and the art there, and the culture there. And I was so mad. And that has reverberated since then.
Yeah.
And I know it has impacted on how we as a profession are doing our jobs.
Yeah.
I know it has impacted on guys' mental health.
Absolutely.
A friend of mine was wrapped up in what amounted to a bullshit IA from that response that the city didn't resolve for 2.5 years.
Jeez.
Yeah. How do you get up and go to work every day like that?
Yeah.
And now you go, and because of that, you have entire precincts in the city. First precinct, go midnight shift. There might be 3 guys there.
Right.
3.
Yep.
3.
Yeah.
Because who the hell wants to do this?
Right.
And they still got to hire people.
Yeah.
Well, the news broke today. News broke today. Guy out of the last class sexting a 14-year-old. Unacceptable.
Right.
We my concern, of course, I have a lot of concerns, but like Jeff, and talk with you, it sounds like when we're talking about what the state is, I think you're kind of alluding to that the way we're trending with this not prosecuting things, not going after court, is not sustainable. That eventually it's going to have to come back because it's just not sustainable.
Yeah.
My worry is that I agree, and I'm hopeful that the pendulum comes back, but when it does, is it so far gone that we're taking another 10, 15, 20 years to get back, to get the personnel back, to get the manpower back up, to get the right folks that want to do the job, but we're so...
Well,
I mean, I'm afraid of when that pendulum comes back. It's just going to be so far gone.
Well, and I'm afraid, like Gen Z, and that's your boys.
Yep.
Gen Z has absolutely no interest in this job.
Right.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a difficult situation, on the show. And he's also become a good friend. And the next time he's down, you got to come up and hang out with Jimmy Galliano.
Yes.
Jimmy, retired supervisory special agent from the FBI. He's working on his PhD, and this is what he studies. And I mean, it's fascinating when you look at the numbers, but of course nobody looks at the numbers. People will tell, yes, white cops are killing black guys every single moment of every single day. And you go, well, okay, so here's what the actual I don't care what your statistics say. Well, that's a problem. And who then do you get to do the job? It would seem to me that it is one of those jobs that is always essential, right? There are always going to be bad people victimizing innocent people. And throughout history, I mean, Colonel Grossman talks about, right? Summer sheep and summer sheepdogs. So what do the sheepdogs do? Do you just say, well, I feel called to do this. Somebody's got to protect these people, but the agency itself will not back me. They're not going to stand with me. And the way this entire system is now skewed, I'm going to be at risk. The idea that folks in our General Assembly a couple of years ago were floating the idea of doing away with qualified immunity.
Oh gosh,
right?
yeah.
How many men and women at that point were going? Yeah, let me pull that retirement form because I'm going to go be an assistant manager at Aldi
Yeah.
because this is insane.
And this is where
Absolutely.
you have that anti-cop element
Yeah,
that will not let facts and data get in the way of a good narrative.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
so qualified immunity for anybody that is not in law enforcement or even hates law enforcement and just happened to accidentally find this podcast.
They were here for the pro wrestling, Al. That's what it was. I'm telling you right now.
The qualified immunity is for all, let me say it again, all public employees, including elected officials.
Yeah.
All.
Yeah.
So if the General Assembly would like to give up their qualified immunity,
That's right.
Yeah.
along with their protection detail for that matter,
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
then I'd be happy to consider it.
Yeah.
But the minute I keep wanting some state to pull the plug on qualified immunity just to see what happens.
I think there are some that have.
That I don't think that.
We'll have to look at that. But the problem is the misinformation because they think if you get rid of qualified immunity, then
It is not absolute
that
immunity.
means
Right,
an
right,
officer can
of
do
course.
whatever they want, and
Right.
there's no repercussion. And that's just not the case.
It's never been the case.
No, it has never been the
No,
case.
and it never would be the case.
Right.
But to hear, well, Gavin Newsom or Governor Hochul in New York, they are so hell bent on undermining law enforcement. And you look at Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, right?
Oh, yeah.
Before all of the illegals arrived in New York, he, who is himself is a retired police officer, his big thing was cutting the size of the New York City Police Department. They weren't going to have classes forever and ever, and bringing it down from, I don't know what it is now, 29,000 to 21,000.
Jeez.
Now think about that. I mean, there's such a huge chunk.
That's a third.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Well, they used to be up around 38,000.
That's right.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
my gosh.
yeah. Yes, it is. I think it is. To your point, Dennis, I think it's unsustainable.
Yeah.
But what is the reflex then, right? I mean, if it's a pendulum and we've swung all the way over here, are we coming back over here where the things that these very people claim are happening actually wind up happening? Or will you have staffed these agencies in the meantime with people who believe that cops are not supposed to respond to calls, that police officers are not really supposed to lock up bad guys? You look at Memphis, that terrible situation there, where there were no supervisory patrol sergeants because they didn't have that position. And it didn't occur to them that you should have somebody in control of an incident.
Well, and they also put relatively new guys
Yes.
on a unit that historically, you got to have some tenure and
Yep.
some demonstrated skill
Yep.
to end up on. I have worked those units.
Yeah.
You have worked those
Yeah,
units.
but now that the tenure's going away because you don't have that. It used to be an FTO was a 10-year guy, maybe a 5-year.
Yeah.
Now your 2-year folks are FTOs.
Mhm.
They're just getting their feet wet, and now they're becoming FTOs because you just don't have the bodies, don't have the people.
Right. Right. And what happens to hiring standards as we continue
Oh,
to say
gosh.
we're not going to support law enforcement? Are there people, and again, I'm going to look towards Memphis because you take a look at the backgrounds with a lot of these guys, like, well, they could have been either side of this equation. They were as comfortable clearly committing crimes as they were allegedly locking up bad guys. I mean, if you didn't have somebody with a shield hanging around his neck, I don't know that you would know
Right.
which
No.
side
Right.
you were talking to. And so does that become a big picture issue? And that's what Jimmy Galliano has analyzed. So the underlying message is we don't really want you to do what historically has been the job.
Yeah.
You have, what do they call them in Richmond? LeVar Stoney's idea was violence interrupters. You're going to have people, and again,
I
people
think they've hired one.
Has he interrupted any violence? And did he do it by himself, or did he ask for backup?
He probably asked for backup.
Right. And you have now this phrase, people are having a mental situation, a crisis. Okay, fair enough. I mean, I don't want you not to deal with that, but do you say to this person who is unarmed, untrained in any sort of self-defense
Right.
or body management of somebody who's acting out, you're going to respond to, yes, that's what we're going to do. Well, what happens after they get attacked?
Well, there's a case that I just saw on the news the other day. Believe it was a shooting that goes from February in New York,
Okay.
where guy was with his father. He was homeless. He broke into the house or something. He gets into an argument with the dad. They call police. They're telling him, no, he's having a mental health episode. He's having a mental health episode because they're suing the city, I believe, now.
Sure.
And they get there and they said, well, the officers pulled up, and it was 30 seconds from the time they approach him to the time that they shot him. The guy lived, but the time that they shot him, well, and there was no time taken. Well, what people don't understand is that there may not, time is usually dictated by the other side of that equation. The,
Absolutely.
Yep.
the perp or the person in crisis.
Yep.
Okay. And the guy comes at them with a 12-inch blade, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they shot him. You know, now, would the guy have not gotten shot had he not come at the officers with the 12-inch blade?
Right.
Right? So I appreciate that this guy's legit in crisis.
Yeah.
There's no question he's
Absolutely.
in crisis. But by the time that folks like us pull up,
Yeah.
it's out of our hands.
Yeah.
The crisis aspect, the mental health aspect, has given way to the public safety aspect.
Right. That's right.
And the public safety aspect has to rule in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
But people can't wrap their heads around that.
No, there's a complete lack of understanding when it comes to responding to a call like that. And it would be wonderful if everybody at some point would go through, some sort of video simulation.
No, Jeff.
You
There's
don't-
plenty of understanding.
Okay.
Okay, because I can go home tonight. I can fire up my Roku. I can find Law and Order. I can find CSI.
CSI, yes. Yeah.
I might be able to find some old episodes of Hill Street Blues.
Oh, excellent
Great
show.
show.
Oh,
That is a
actually.
great show. Definitely a great show.
You know, Miami Vice.
Yeah.
And I've watched enough of that.
So you know.
So I know how to do your job.
That's true.
You know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
watched some YouTube videos on dentistry, and I'm going to tell my dentist next time how to do, what it is he does.
You're doing it wrong.
Yeah, you're doing it wrong. YouTube said you were doing it wrong.
That's right. That's right. No, you're right. Yeah, I mean, we've got, and then you've got, of course, the Monday morning quarterbacks, right? I mean, you got all the time in the world to go to the tape, and you can take a look at this. And you, well, all
You're
right.
not standing there in the moment,
Yep.
jackass.
You've got
so,
a split second. That and we could talk about. How many seconds does it take for somebody to get from one side of the room to the other side of the room, and it's an edged blade. I mean, all of those things that become commonplace on the job, but somebody Monday morning, I don't know why they just didn't shoot it out of his hand. I mean, I've seen that. I mean, how hard could it be?
John Wick can do that.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
right.
You can't. I mean, geez.
Don't you have like a metal business card you can fling in his direction that will
Exactly.
cause him to drop the weapon?
Yep.
yeah, I can hypnotize him,
yeah.
or
Yeah.
I think we have gotten to and to wax political.
Yeah.
You have oppressors and oppressed,
Right.
and everything.
Well,
gets
that's critical theory.
Everything gets categorized in those two things: oppressors
Absolutely.
and oppressed.
Yep.
And if you're deemed to be the oppressed, it doesn't matter.
That's exactly right.
It doesn't matter. Whatever happens is not your fault. If you're an oppressor, by damn, it doesn't matter the circumstances.
Yeah.
You're the bad guy.
Yeah.
And facts be damned.
Absolutely.
Facts be damned, data be damned. And I'm a facts guy. I'm a data guy.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm going to go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean that is critical theory. It is the oppressed and the oppressor, and you will fit into one category. And by the way, you don't get to choose your category. Somebody else is going to choose your category for you, and you're going to be treated in exactly that way. I refer you to the city of Philadelphia again, right? As the city of my birth. And there was so much that I legitimately did love about Philadelphia and what have you. But Larry Krasner is the district attorney up there, and he is the personification of the Soros prosecutor. Record-setting murders in the city of Philadelphia. Crime everywhere you go. I mean, neighborhoods mentioned that. Certainly when I was growing up, we go, oh my gosh, I mean, that's outrageous. There was never anything bad that happened and such. And what happens? The entire city is apparently really PO'd. My God, there's crime everywhere. There are murders. They reelected him. So if you're going to be angry on Monday at all the crime and then Tuesday you go in and reelect him, I'm sorry, I can't generate all that much sympathy at that point.
I'm there with you.
Yep.
I'm there with you. And again, to wax political, I got upset at the Pennsylvania legislature trying to impeach him. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why? They elected him. It's not your business.
Yeah.
Let them have it. Maybe if they have it long enough, they'll decide they don't want it anymore.
But you know what? It's almost like we're headed towards like Snake Plissken and Escape from New York, you know? It's like, all right, look, Manhattan, that's it. Put up the gates. It's in the middle of the water.
Good 80s reference.
Thank you.
there.
Thank you very much.
I like that.
And I don't know what you do at that point. I mean, I really don't. I don't know what you do. The guy that Richie Ross was the police commissioner in Philadelphia, and he and I have known each other. We haven't chatted in a long time, but we went to junior high school together. We were in the band together. We went to high school together, and then Richie had a meteoric career and wound up as commissioner. And he was, it's a tried expression and all, but he was a cop's cop, and he stood with his guys. He stood with the agency, and believe me, if you had done something wrong, Richie was not going to be there to say, oh, well, we'll make excuses. But he wound up as the commissioner, and the mayor, Jim Kenney, was anti-cop. Mm-hmm. And Richie, I remember this. I watched the press conference because I hadn't seen him in a long time. And if you recall, a couple of years back, there was a guy who was dressed in robes and shouting Allahu Akbar. You remember this? Attacks, shoots a police officer sitting in his car.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the guy lived, the officer lived, thank God.
Thank goodness.
And they're doing the press conference. And it was the captain of homicide and Richie Ross, the commissioner, who were talking about, well, we're investigating all avenues because somebody in the press corps, so, is it terrorist related? Is it blah, blah, blah? And as they were speaking, Jim Kenney, the mayor, jumped in. There's absolutely, positively no connection. I was like, well, it happened an hour ago. And you don't know what it... But I could almost see...
Again, facts and data.
That's
facts
right.
and data.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you guys, I could almost see in Richie's face at that moment, like, here you go. I'm done. I got my time in, and I don't need to be here. And if this is what's going to happen, I don't want to be here. And so what happens is that generation it gives way to folks who come on the job today.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
and if you can't find the people, you take a look again. Standards that are lowered and lowered, and this criminal offense is no longer disqualifying, and this criminal offense. So I don't know what the line is. I really don't. Is it when people say, okay, my cousin got shot, my neighbor's house was broken into, this guy that I know, his car was stolen. Okay, well, now it's an issue. But are we too far over? Have we reached the tipping point? I don't know. Lord knows I don't know.
Well,
I don't think we have yet.
No.
You want thoughtful, intelligent, hardworking, empathetic
Yeah.
people in this job.
Yeah.
And unless things change substantially, you're going to struggle to keep them.
Yep.
And you're going to struggle to get ones in behind them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a tough situation.
So
You've had enough, haven't you, Dennis? I was thinking, man, look, Alan, we got an hour to get back to Chesterfield. This guy is just blah, 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 blah. It's enough already.
No, I mean, we could go on, but I mean, we could go on to the wee hours of the morning on this.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
I mean, it's just.
Now, not like this, though. There would be the need for beverages and perhaps cigars.
I can always do both.
Yeah.
Agreed. 100% agreed. Yes.
So Jeff, before we start to wrap up, tell us what you're doing with the peer counseling now.
Yep.
And I think you just entered into some life coaching stuff.
Yeah. As I said, I started out with this peer counseling thing 1,000 years ago in Philadelphia with a small group called Cops Helping Cops. And it really, really hit home. One of the guys that I worked with, who I'm still friends with, and we talk all the time, he tried to kill himself. And thank God it didn't work, but it was a huge cry. And he certainly has not worked in law enforcement after that. He's had a really difficult way. But the only people that were really ever able to communicate to be able to deal with him were people who had been on the job. And again, it's not like I had some illustrious career. I spent a couple of years doing this and haven't done it in far longer than I did it. But you saw enough, and he trusted me enough that we were able to sort of talk through some stuff, and through the years I've been able to do that. Not really in a like an official way, but again, it was just very sort of loose through the years with this Cops Helping Cops. So the last few years, I said, it really is where my passion is. I think the human mind is just an amazing thing. I mean, I am continually just amazed by what people know and what they think and how they think and the process that goes into this. And some of it, in a very selfish way, is kind of looking at Julia and saying, gee, she's not going to do this. She's, I'm never going to embarrass her by dancing with her at her wedding. She's 20 years old, and we have to change diapers. And it's just not something, frankly, that a dad should be doing for a 20-year-old daughter. It's weird, and it's just not what should be happening. But it has to be done. You just sort of suck it up and go, okay, it's got to be done. But there are a lot of people, family members in that disabled community, who have a real tough way going and dealing with that and navigating the system, and friends of mine or acquaintances in law enforcement who just they know there's something wrong, or they think there's something going on. They'd like to talk about it. They don't know what's involved. So I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm none of these things. But I went and certainly through the last decade, I've just enmeshed myself in all sorts of coaching programs and have taken that to really a couple of different avenues. I deliver a speech that I call The Quest for Cookies, which kind of tells Julia's story about successfully navigating her way out of what we were sure was a secured little room for her, making her way to the kitchen, not falling, not getting hurt, and not wasting time, say, with aluminum foil, because she knows she doesn't like it, there's nothing there, but being able to find the pantry, open the pantry, get every cookie in that pantry out. And she sat in the middle of the kitchen floor, man, and she would, it was almost like an Animal House. I mean, she sat there in the middle, and she took a cookie, took a bite, and went, and grabbed another cookie and took a bite. And the cookies were everywhere, and there were cookie crumbs everywhere. But this girl whose mind is that of an 18-month-old had somehow, some way figured out, so this is the way that safety gate latches. And if I do this enough, it will come loose. And she doesn't understand steps. She doesn't know what's hot, what's sharp. But somehow, some way, she made her way to the cookies. And I thought, well, it's an analogy and a metaphor that works for a lot of things. You know, Jeff Katz, who was the miserable radio sales guy, I needed to know what the cookies were, and I kind of needed to figure out where the cookies were, and it can work in a lot of applications. So it's. I mean, people call it motivational. I hope it's motivational. I hope it's inspirational. But I deliver that, and then I have a number of people that I help with the coaching. I've got one person who just reached out to me who knows about my injury. I fell a couple of years ago at the radio factory, and my back will forever be screwed up, and it is what it is. But he, I guess 24 months ago, fell, had an injury, and is now dealing with pain, lack of mobility. He went down medication, and it's like, okay, so I can't do, that's not my area. But I can tell you, I got all of those. I've got that particular medicine. Yep, I could put it in a candy dish at this point. I can tell you what I went through. So that's your doctor's got to deal with you on that. But if you want to talk to somebody who's now, quote, permanently partially disabled, I can talk to you about that. The beautiful thing about coaching is that it's offering somebody the assistance is even too big a word, but offering them the ability to reach the goals they want to reach. And we all go through this process of reasons we can't. Right? Well, I'd like to do that. I can't do that. Okay, is that a fact, or is that something you've sort of created in your own mind that keeps you from doing that? And that, for me anyway, is the beautiful part about this coaching experience is being able to say to somebody, okay, well, here's where we are. It's not unlike coaching in athletics, right? If you want to be a great pitcher, you got to throw a lot of pitches, and you've got to have somebody who can honestly say your foot is not supposed to be there, and here's how you can get better. And the whole life coaching thing, it's such a wide sort of description, and anybody who wants to do it, tomorrow could say, that's what I am. I can't help people pitch. I don't know how to throw the perfect touchdown, but I can help you out a little bit, I think, right, if you are dealing with something in these couple of areas. I can't be generalist. And I think it's that way in anything. And somebody says, oh, I do that, and I do. Well, you probably don't do anything really. It's a mile wide and an inch deep sort of thing.
Well, you're right. It can apply to so many different situations.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I for me personally, it's incredibly rewarding. It is, I'd like to believe, important, and it's just situation by situation. To help one person here, to help one person there, and again, it's not that I'm doing anything other than providing, in some cases, somebody to bounce something off of. Keeping people, holding people accountable is a big thing, right? You want to do this. Okay, well, we've got 3 things that we need to do this week. And I say we, I mean you. Next week at this time, we're going to do our Zoom call, and we're going to talk about this. And 2 days before, you're going to let me know where we are. And again, by we, I mean you. I'm just sort of looking at your homework that you said you wanted to do. And that's a big part of this. And again, for me, I just find it incredibly rewarding.
Well, brother, I don't know where you find the time.
No. I was just thinking the same thing. Oh, my
I
gosh.
do not know where you find the time.
Well,
Yeah.
wow.
I don't know where you find the time to sit down with us tonight. But
What are you kidding me? This is God. This is great. I'm thrilled you guys came up here.
well, Jeff, I mean, I think we both want to thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
just-
Thank you so much.
It's
It's
you're just your positivity
Yes.
is infectious.
Very much
well,
so.
thank you.
That
Very
sounds
much so.
corny, but it's true.
Well, I appreciate that.
No,
I
and
mean,
we appreciate the advocacy that you do for this job.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's constant. It's heartfelt. It's
Genuine.
certainly noticed. So
It is very noticed.
Yeah.
And I think the law enforcement community as a whole around here greatly appreciates. I know they do. It's just and pretty amazing what you have done.
Well, thank you. I'd like to think. Well, that means the world to me. That I mean, it really, really does. That's it's reminiscent. I do my best every day at this point to live up to some things that my dad taught me. Right? You noticed my dad was an MP and the rest of it. My dad, when I was a little kid, ran into a building and rescued a lady. I've told this story on the air. He ran up this flight of steps. The lower level was on fire, and he ran up there and carried this older woman down. He was getting ready to go back in. The fire department showed up, and a few months later, he was getting all these sort of honors, and like we got that certificate from the president. It is
yeah.
Richard Nixon, but I mean, nonetheless, it's still from the president. And after this thing at it's called the Chapel of the Four Chaplains. I mean, I heard all this stuff about my dad. I never heard him ever tell me any of this stuff. And I asked him, I said, well, why not? He said, because you're supposed to do things because they're the right things to do. And it's a little difficult sitting here with all the, like, hey, Jeff, you're a good guy, plaque stuff things. But, you know, that's the reality of it. I mean, they're just some things you're supposed to do. They're the right things to do. You do them. Somebody says, attaboy, that's great. And if they don't, that's okay, too. That was still the right thing to do. And so I appreciate you saying that.
Absolutely.
It's better than anything else, man. I tell you from the bottom of my heart, that's the reason that I've tried to use the platform, whatever platform I've got, just to be of value to somebody, and for men and women who are out there doing the job. I don't know that I would do it in this day and age, to be perfectly blunt.
Yep.
I don't know how you do it in this day and age, but there are people doing it. And I hope that whatever little platform or megaphone I've got, I'm able just to shine a little light over there, and hopefully the folks on the job appreciate it. But I just want people in that civilian world, you know, people who are not exposed to this, except for, well, that jerk gave me a ticket and I was on my way to work and that stinks. And you know what? You're right. It does stink. But listen to this guy who showed up at the Morrissey house and went out of his way to play music and face the car in the other direction. I mean, it seems, well, I mean, to me, it seems like such an amazing thing. And for him, I'm telling you, when he sat and said, well, yeah, anybody would have done that. We all would have done that. And I'm thinking, I'd like to think that.
Right.
But, you know, I can think back and realize maybe everybody wouldn't do that, or maybe wouldn't be clued in that direction. So that's the story that's got to be told as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
Well, again, thank you. How can people find you online? I think you have a new page up
I
for
do.
coaching.
Yes.
How can they find you?
PJ Morrissey built my web pages. Does a great job, by the way. jeffkatz.us. jeffkatz.us. That's one-stop shop. Phone numbers are there. Emails are there. And I've said it certainly on the radio show. Anybody who is in law enforcement in particular, who just feels like they want to talk to somebody, need to talk to somebody, want some direction, or want somebody to say, hey, you need to go see this sort of person, I'm always available.
I got a guy.
I got a guy. Alan, I got a guy for you. I got no doubt about that.
Well, brother, it is always a pleasure to get to talk to you, to get to see you. It's
Yes.
wonderful to be here in the Plaque Shack for the first time.
Great.
So,
Did you like the pro wrestling section?
I
though?
love-
right.
I love it.
That's the best part.
That's
I love it.
outstanding.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
it's pro wrestling. It's I love me. It's cop stuff.
Well, like the plaques. I believe it or not, I've downsized some of the plaques because even I thought, man, this is just pathetic.
No way.
Heidi always described it. Yeah, these are your walls of low self-esteem and insecurity. And it's like, I know, but somebody's got to tell me something nice. It's not going to be you. So,
Well, thank you again, and hopefully we can get you back on sometime.
heck yeah, anytime.
Yeah,
Keep us in the
please.
loop
Absolutely.
as to anything you think we need to be talking about. We're happy, and we're always here for you. So.
Oh, well, same here, guys. I appreciate it. Love the show, or the podcast, I guess, technically. It's not, right? I mean, there's a distinction between
We're still
show
a
and-
show.
You are a
Yeah,
show.
yeah,
I
we're
mean,
still a show.
Well, you know what?
kinda-
You're a show because, as far as I'm concerned, you're entertaining, you're informative, you're as honest as the day is long during the program, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy. And so, I'm a listener. I'm a fan. So
Well, thank you. Thank you. It
I
means
appreciate
a lot.
it.
Means a lot.
Thanks
All
so
right.
much, Jeff.
Thank you.
Well,
I had a lot of fun.
yeah. That was really good.
It was, Jeff is, that man has personality in abundance.
Oh, man, no doubt. And he's just a fun dude and just a great guy.
And his career path is, again, colorful.
I'm still going to be stuck with we were number one with funeral homes. I was still chuckling about that the whole way through because it's just hilarious.
But, he's, through everything he's done and where he is in his career, he is so humble, so welcoming,
He really is.
and just a tireless advocate for the job.
Yeah. We are blessed to have him here in the Richmond area. It's just awesome. And it was so great to finally meet him. And I remember you mentioning that we were hopefully going to have him on, and I've been looking forward to that ever since, the very first episode, because we had talked about that. And being such a long-time listener, I was so anxious to meet him, be able to talk with him, interact. It was just, what a great time.
Yeah, and it ran, of course it ran long.
Oh, it did. It did run long, but how can you cut that short?
You can't. You can't.
And the truth is, we could have probably gone to the wee hours of the morning.
Probably. I'm not sure anybody would actually wanted to listen to that.
But, man, that was just a great time, and I'm so thankful for Jeff Katz coming on. And, for anybody that listens to the podcast, if you listen to radio, you need to catch him on WRVA. He's on in the afternoons.
3 to 6.
Yep, 3 to 6. And WRVA, it's 11:40 a.m., and I believe it's 96.1 FM.
96.1 FM. You can catch him, if you're out all the way in like Hawaii or something, just fire up the Odyssey app.
Yeah, that's right.
You can get him when he is filling in for Glenn Beck. You can
Yep.
get him when he's filling in for Todd Starnes.
But he's got a great afternoon show.
Oh, yeah.
And I always enjoy listening to him. And for the first responders, he's always very complimentary and is just always such a great advocate. So please tune in and check him out in the afternoons.
Yeah, it was great having him, and hopefully we get to talk again.
Yeah, I'm sure we will, and hopefully that'll be soon. But, what a great time. All right, Al, I think that's going to wrap up
I think it does.
episode 1 for season 3, believe it or not.
We're back. We're at it again.
Absolutely. And where can they find us, Al?
They can find us at badgetothebone.com. They can also find us on Facebook at Badge to the Bone.
And you can email us at wearebadgetothebone@gmail.com. But until then, be safe.
And be well.